It's time to get real green. In this episode, how contractors are using natural materials to create new eco-friendly wall surfaces.
People are becoming more and more conscious of the health of their homes and also how the building techniques affect the earth.
Plus, an urban community deals with water overflow. And visiting a training center for eco-careers.
This course, at the end of it, there are real jobs, so this course prepares you for the workplace.
All that and much, much more on Real Green. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Payne. Today we'll explore some new green ideas and show you how some people are becoming real green. During construction of new homes these days, many builders and owners are opting for a different eco-friendly finish to their traditional painted walls. A process using natural materials, such as clay, are gaining popularity. Scott Nelson, founder of a company called Naturalwalls, uses a product named American Clay.
American clay is a very green material because it takes very little energy to blend, to create. There's other materials, say cement, for example, or paint finishes, where there's quite a lengthy chemical or heat-based process to create those materials. Cement is one of the most notoriously energy-intensive materials to make. With American clay, they're literally just bringing in the different clay bodies and recycled crushed limestone from the stone industry, and they're just blending it together. So it gets its binding capacity simply from the natural character of the clay. As clay dries, it shrinks, and it's grabbing the structure of that crushed limestone in there and creating a solid surface. It also is zero VOC base, and not only is it zero VOC, it actually helps to remove VOCs from the air. VOCs are volatile organic compounds, and that's something that it's basically an out-of-control molecule that we take into our bodies, and it stays in there and bounces around and creates cell damage. And this house in particular is very interesting because we put the American clay over a special kind of drywall called Air Renew, and it also actually will take in volatile organic compounds, VOCs, which you get from the glue in your carpet, from your upholstery, from the wood in the house. We have all these volatile organic compounds going into the air in our houses because of the materials that we use. The drywall and the American clay will actually take that in and convert it to inert compounds so that it will no longer be present in the air. So there's an interior air quality aspect to this material that is quite amazing. Here we're mixing up a next batch of American clay. We're putting it into a large mixing tub. We're going to mix 2 bags at once, just for efficiency. We have a standard paddle mixer. It needs to be a fairly strong drill. It can't be your average wood drill. It often burns out the motor on a small drill. So we use 1/2-inch drills most of the time to mix up our clay.
American clay, we call her Mississippi mud.
These walls have a first coat of American clay. This is the Enjare blend. And after that coat is applied, you can let it dry completely or partially dry and go ahead and add your second finish coat, depending on what kind of surface you're going for in the finish. So in this case, we'll be adding a very smooth finish called porcelina over the top of the Enjare base coat. And in the Enjare, we have a non-toxic glue that makes it stick to that primer that we applied. Here we have an area that we've just primed. We're going to start applying American clay to this stairway. And the question that's often asked is, well, once you prime it, then is it still able to interact with the area in the room? And yes, it is. When we have one thin layer of primer on here, they say that you could put up to 20 or 30 coats of acrylic primer and you would still have that vapor permeability of the wall. You can see our corners here. We like to do these 1/8-inch radius corners. They're not perfectly sharp. They have a slight roundness to them, just enough to make the corner a little bit stronger. We don't like to seal this material. We just let it dry, and then it stays in that state and interacts with the air in the room throughout the life of the material. And because it is a completely inert material, it's not going to fall apart or degrade or start to fall off your walls like paint often does with moisture or mildew or that kind of thing. If there is a situation where you needed to repair your wall, say you want to move a picture or fix a crack or put an electrical box in your wall, American clay, in our experience, is one of the simplest materials to repair because you can simply just feather new material into the clay around it. So one question that often comes up when we suggest American clay, well, what does it cost? It runs around $1 a square foot for the entire process. Now that would be for a fairly artisanal application. It can be put up quite a bit less than that. So it depends on the finish you're looking for. Some of the more decorative techniques, of course, are going to be a little more expensive, where we're trying to make the wall look old or look like a fresco. You know, so there's a whole spectrum of different options with American clay in terms of cost. I'm very excited about the future of natural walls because in the last several years I've noticed that people are becoming more and more conscious of the health of their homes and also how the building techniques affect the earth and affect the community around them. I think eventually this will just be the way that buildings are built. Right now we're calling it green because it seems different to us. But eventually this will just be the way it's done because it will be the most efficient, it will be the healthiest, it will be the most cost effective. And when we get to that point, that is when we will really start to have an impact on the earth that we live on.
We'll be back with more Real Green right after this brief break.